Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining the session today by Hong Kong Baptist University. So we are having a pretty good number of students, parents, teachers from around the world. I've seen some familiar names, our students, our amitees from lots of many different places. I can tell you, students and parents and teachers, this is a very good mix of audience. And I'm really glad that we are all here today to share how we feel and how normal this is, but then what could be done to make ourselves feel better. Okay, I think we have most of you in the waiting room now in the Zoom webinar. So welcome everybody. My name is Sam Wong. I'm from the Admissions Office of the Hong Kong Baptist University. Thank you for joining us to this webinar today with the title Living with Anxiety. I am very, very pleased to introduce to you Dr. Renee Chiu, who will be sharing with us today. Not only she will share with us some science and theory behind anxiety, she has planned something that I'm really looking forward to, some exercise for us to hopefully learn to cope with, but also embrace anxiety as our title suggests. So without further ado, I will pass the time to Dr. Randy Chiu. Chiu?
Thank you, Sam, for the introductions and the very big welcomes to all of you. And actually, it is very grateful for me to be able to connect with all of you from different part of the world. So my name is Renee, and I'm come from the Department of Social Work and of Hong Kong Baptist University. So today, I would like to share with you a topic about how to live with anxiety. I think that anxiety is something that I'm sure all of us have been experiencing to a certain extent, particularly during the pandemic. So maybe let me first share my PowerPoint with you. Right. So can you PowerPoint? Yeah, good. So in this webinar, I would like to talk about, the nature and some features about anxiety and how we can better manage our anxiety, and hopefully that we could have some time for discussion in the end. So we all experience anxiety from time to time. Anxiety actually is a very, very normal part of our life that helps us to survive. It is like something like a natural alarms, which help us to sharpening our sense to get us ready to take on different challenge, difficulties. So actually, anxieties can be adaptive, but it may be also helpful, if we can manage it in a proper rate. So, but when anxiety becomes a prolonged and become a very complex emotional state, is actually related to a present response to real and emergent facts. It is a process that is present in all of us. So as you may know that anxiety actually has a very great impact on our daily functioning. According to Dr. Bowen, he was an American psychiatrist and the founders of the Bowen family system theory. There are two kinds of anxiety: acute anxieties and chronic anxiety. Acute anxieties happens when the fact is real, but it is short-lived. That means it is about a present reactions, to stress. It is like a natural alarm to let us know that maybe we are in danger. So when the stressor ends, maybe our acute anxiety will no longer exist. For example, like if you're going to have an examinations, and when the examination has finished, and then you were able to complete it, then maybe your acute anxiety will no longer, with you. However, much of our problems always affect not by the acute anxiety, but rather, it is affected by a level of chronic anxiety, because chronic anxieties can still linger on, even though the facts or maybe the risk is no longer exist. So chronic anxieties is about, the fear that of what might happen, and it can be very long lasting. It's also, happens in relationship when people's reacting to other people's reaction to stress. So that means anxiety can be transmitted, from presence to present. So, our minds and bodies are closely relate and interact with each other. So sometimes you may find yourself be caught up in your stress, and that you don't really realize that some physical discomforts you're experiencing is actually sending you some signal and message about yourselves. So I've got a question here for you. So how do you know that you're anxious? And what happened to your body when you feel stressful? So you can feel free to leave me, your answer in the chat box if you like. Yeah, just think about it. How do you notice some signal, maybe from your body, that is let you it allows you to know that you're being anxious, you're being stressful? Well, right, like sweating, short of breath, breathlessness. Yeah, a tight shoulders, tumbling, forgetfulness. Well, yeah. Yes, it's really common that we will experience like headache, bad shoulder pain, very tense muscle, and all this body sensation is actually connected to our emotional state. And doing a body scan actually is a very good way for us to release some of our physical tension, and it will allow you to be more aware of the message from your body, and it will allow you to pay attention to different parts of the body, in order to know our levels of anxiety, or maybe what kinds of needs that we have to take care about ourselves. So I think now maybe let us try to do a butterfly body scan. I hope that maybe you will try to have a quality time connecting to yourself, to your body. This is actually a very, very useful relaxation exercise to mentally scan your bodies, so you can become more aware of every single part of your body, noticing your pain, your tension, your discomfort in your bodies. And the goal of this exercise is not going to relieve your pain, but it's help you to get to know and to learn from it, so you can better manage your stress. So I welcome all of you to join, if you feel ready. But if you're not ready, you can just listen and observe, the process, right? All right, so maybe it's good for us to play some music and relax ourselves and try to be present at this moment. And we were going to start the exercise. So I hope the music is good to you, right? Let's just try to sit in a comfortable position with your eyes closed. Try to notice this moment, breath naturally, noticing how it's felt in your body when you breathe in and breathe out. And now try to imagine there is a butterfly as nice as a feather. It can be of any colors that you like. So try to take a moment and picture this butterfly in your mind. What colors is it? How big is it? So your butterfly is hovering nearby it. Now we are going to pretend that this magical butterfly will rest on different parts of your bodies, and will also carry a sense of kindness, a sense of relaxations to your body. And when it lands, that part of your bodies will feel relaxed and feel pleasant and feel kind. So let's start with our forehead. You may close your eyes and try to imagine that the butterfly now is resting on your forehead. You can feel a sense of kindness, feel relaxed in your head. Now, try to imagine that the butterfly moves from your forehead to your shoulder. It rests on your shoulders and makes you feel very relaxed. Try to relax yourself and notice your breathing. While feeling the sense of relaxation, you will also try to breathe in, breathe out. You feel the kindness. And now the butterfly moves from your shoulder to your arm. Try to relax your arm. Continue to connect with your body. Try to relax yourself. Make yourself as nice as the butterfly. Now the butterfly moves from your hand to your knees. Relax your leg to your feet. Yourself grounded. Continue to feel the sense of peace. This wonderful connection with your body. And now the butterfly is moving on from your knee to your feet. Relax your whole body and rest. Try to be present in this moment. Continue to breathe in and out, and allows your body to feel the rhythm of your breathing. Continue to relax your whole body. Continue with a sense of tightness. Try to take deep breath. Breathing in and breathing out. So when you're ready, you can try to reach your hand to the sky when you breathe in, like a butterfly. When your hand reaches the sky, you breathe in, and then try to lower your arms as you breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, try to hold your breath. Slowly breathe out. So when you feel you're much more relaxed, and you feel you're more connected to your body, try to remember the process and the sensation, message that sent out from your body. When you feel that ready, you have completed the exercise, then you can slowly open your eyes. Right. So, did you enjoy the process? Today, I make it a little bit quicker because of the time limitations. But when you're going to practice it, on every day that maybe you can take it a little bit longer to let the butterfly rest on different parts of your bodies for a longer time. Yeah. So how do you feel? Do you feel any body sensations during the process? Yeah. And if you like to listen to music, it's definitely wonderful, together with music. And it's very good for you to spend some quality time connecting to yourself, connecting not only to your thoughts and feelings, but also, our body is a very important part of us. So try to practice this exercise when you have time, especially during the pandemic, when you need to stay home, that you can do to, on your own, allows yourself have a quality me time. Right. So, during the process, maybe you will notice that part of the body, you will feel some, you will have some feeling about some part of the body. So actually, when you encounter anxiety, there were some different kinds of symptoms that we have to understand and have to notice. Because to understand and manage anxiety, it is very helpful that you know its symptoms and how it presents itself. So there are some common experience that the present will go through when they are in anxiety. So after the body scanned, you might be more aware, of some of this physical sign that your body is experiencing. So let's take a look. So your head, maybe sometime you experience headache, You can feel your muscle, your shoulder pain, and maybe just like some of you have mentioned, when you're getting anxious, you have the shortness of breath, and sometimes we have excessive sweating. We feel dizzy, and maybe for some people, they will experience, stomach ache, chest pains, and maybe a sense of pressure, over your chest. So these are some very common physical symptoms that we might, experience. And emotionally, of course, if you encounter anxiety, you feel very stressful, you feel very anxious, worry a lot, and it's make you feel very redness that you cannot feel, the kindness. It's making you feel very impatient, and sometimes the feelings of fear is very dominating. You will be worried a lot. You fear that something might be happened, right? Because as we mentioned, chronic anxiety actually is very influential to our functioning. So sometimes actually we fear a lot. We fear that something might be happened, very bad, and it's make us feel very helpless, and we are losing a sense of control. And cognitively, you will find yourself very difficult to pay attention, difficult to concentrate, and sometimes you easily forget something. And also you may fear about, maybe other people will have a very negative evaluations about you. Sometimes we are also afraid about losing control. We cannot in charge of the things with a sense of uncertainties. And, anxiety also make our world small, that we are losing perspective. We are only seeing something in black or white. So maybe sometimes we will also obsessive with our thoughts, and maybe we also have problem with our problem solving ability. And anxiety also manifests in some behaviors experience, like we try to avoid something, we will have procrastination, and anxiety also make us very reactive, and maybe sometimes we will overactive in something, or to a very severe condition, we will freeze, we become motionless, we don't want to do anything. And it is also very common that when we get anxious, we will try to pursue the assurance from others. Yeah, because we are losing a sense of control in ourselves. So we always look for others for approval, for recognition, for reassurance. And maybe for some people, when they feel very anxious, they will have they may tend to overeating, or maybe they become alcoholic. Some people may using drug or alcohol to soothe themselves. So these are the very common anxiety symptoms that when you get anxious, that you may experience. And that having some anxieties can be good, as I mentioned in the beginning, but it can become very problematic, when there is too much of it. It will impair our functioning and prevent us from taking some very productive actions. So anxiety will trigger a very primitive response in our brain. Just as I mentioned, fright, fight, respond, and sometimes maybe also fears that we don't want to do anything. All this response can be problematic because it prevents us from moving forward. It's also limited our perspective to see the world. But actually, not all the anxiety disorder are the same. So you can see from the PowerPoint that these are some common types of anxiety disorders. But today, I'm not going into detail, because I want to focus, on the way how we can manage some anxieties, anxiety symptom that we might experience in our everyday life, but not a clinical anxiety. So for individual, you find yourself have a very significant anxiety problem. It is always good for you to, to seek for professional assessment and professional help. This is very, very important. So here I would like to introduce you the cognitive behavioral perspective on anxiety. What we call is CBT. The CBT approach was scientifically proven to be very effective in treating anxiety disorders. And this approach believes that we all have our inner triangle based on our thoughts, our feelings, and our behavior. And these three parts are interrelated. Our thoughts will influence our feelings, and they will affect the way we respond and react. And our action in return will affect, the way how we think and feel and so on. So here is the example for my student, right? Where my student, a student from a master program of counseling, he had received a very negative feedback from his supervisor about his performance as he failed, to submit his assignment on time. So when these activating events happened, it will trigger some thought, in ourselves. So for my student, he's going to think that I'm going to get a lower grade, for my placement because I received a negative remark. Or maybe in this case, I may not be able to graduate. And the way maybe he see himself as I'm so incompetent, and I cannot become a counselor. And more worse, I will let down to my parents. So these are some very automatic thoughts that appear, when he encounters the activating event. So this kind of thought may trigger some of our feelings, making him feeling very helpless, very frustrated, very anxious, very fearful, very stressful. And because of this, we can see that some anxiety will turn out into some actions, like he woke up in the midnight trying to complete his assignment, and sometimes he may absent, from the supervisions to avoid to hear any negative comment from the supervisor. So, the way to change a problematic feelings like extreme anxieties is associated with our thoughts and with our actions. So when you feel, So when you feel very anxious about something, it's hard to believe in yourself that you can handle a situation effectively. So when we feel anxious and fear, we tend to see ourselves as very, incompetent, inadequate, weak, vulnerable, and this will create a sense of self-doubt and uncertainty, which in turn actually feeding our own anxieties and our sense of vulnerabilities. So this actually involve a distortions of reality because, in most cases, you are not as weak as and unable to cope with a situation as you think. So therefore, it's very important that we can change some of our automatic thoughts about effects and danger. It will help us to become more objective and more realistic in dealing with different situations in our everyday life with more confidence. In other words, understanding how our brain functions actually is very helpful to strengthen our cognitive functioning. So here's the other question for you. Yeah, you can make a quick guess. So try to guess, how old for a teenage brain to be more fully developed? Again, you can, have your answer in the chat box. Yeah, I can see 25 years. Around 20? 90, 18, 70. Right. Yeah, it seems that most of you think this is around 20, right? 20. So, actually the rational part of our brain, the thinking part of our brain, isn't fully developed until the age of 25 or above. Yeah. So, for teenage, for high school student, around the age, around 10 to 18, the part of the brain that is the limbic system, showing the figures, the limbic system. This is an emotional brain. It's dry emotion, this part of the brain develops faster around the age of 10 to 18. And this part actually is control our impulse. Yeah, the parts that control our impulse is the neocortex. But this thinking brain is underdeveloped, during adolescence. So when it's come to 18 to 25, the brain that drive emotion will intensify, along with our hormones our changes in our hormones. So it's allowed our teenage to engage in a lot of risk-taking behavior and become much more emotional because our rational mind is not fully developed. So I guess maybe it is good for parents, for teacher to understand the characteristic of how a teenage brain develops. And this may allow more empathetic understanding on their needs and limitation. And maybe it is also a good news that our brain can be trained up. So it is very good that we can try to find some way to train up our brain to be more adaptive, more realistic, and much and healthier. So anxiety is part of us. Adaptive anxiety is no problem, but what makes it become a problem is when it's become maladaptive. So too often we will see ourselves anxious and distressed because we see maybe we are a total failure, and we see failure equal to our identity and make us equal to failure. So in reality, actually, we cannot in control of everything to make sure that everything can end up perfectly. So a more realistic and adaptive view of life is not a totally failure or totally perfect. Because I already told my student that life can be imperfectly perfect. Yeah, we all have limitations. And when you fail something, just tell yourself, I failed, but that is in the past. And try to focus on what you learn from the situations. So failure is an action, not your identity. It's not a description about you and others. So when you can have a more healthy thought about yourself, you can make yourself more adaptive and resilient to face up with your difficulties and challenge. So now let's look at some very practical way to manage our anxiety and make ourselves more adaptive to stress and challenge. Yeah, so this is the A to C guide. So the first step, very important, start with A, is stand for acceptance. So you can start to do, increasing your confidence by becoming more aware of your emotional reactions and embracing situation where you can be vulnerable without any judgment about yourself and others, because there are many external factors that we cannot control. So when you intend to control something which is out of our control, which is out of your control, you will lose a sense of self-efficacy and feeling very incompetent about yourself. So acceptance, is a very important element to stabilize our emotions. So when you feel anxious, just notice it, embrace it, and try to calm down yourself and try to understand, what happened about you. Then it's very important that we need to strike a balance. So when it's come to your health, you need to focus on some long-term goal, not quick fix. For example, when we try to treat our body with extreme diets, I want to look good, I want to on diets, we may get to our goal in a short amount of time, with some quick fix. But however, we could do some untold damage to our body in long terms. So therefore, it will be much more helpful, for us to spend time to build up some healthy long-term habit, like working at a healthy lifestyle, healthy thinking, eating a good sleeping schedule, exercise more. So it will help you to sustain a healthy patterns of behavior in long term. And of course, it is certainly require you to be very self-disciplined, and you need to insist on it to keep on with your schedule. Then it is, after a long period of social distancing, you may be nervous, to venture out into the world to connect again with people. But curiosity and being creative actually is very important for us to reconnect with our world, with our people. A lot of study actually find that when we try to seek new knowledge, some scary and fearful feeling like uncertainty will go away. So a curious mindset can stop you from being very anxious, to stop our anxious mind from thinking everything in a very, very worst case scenarios. So not only that curiosity curiosity actually can help us to relieve our distress and make us less defensive and less reactive to stress. So try to cultivate your curious mindset. So showing here is a picture, from a student during pandemic when we need to have online class. So we are trying to use some pastor to make a picture to try to connect with their emotion and their needs. So you can see that my student is very upset because actually she would like to become like a butterfly, can go out to enjoy some time with friends, right? But under the pandemic, under the lockdown, she feel like a snail, that everything is like very unproductive. Everything need to be having a very slow progress, that make herself feel very inconfident, very useless, right? So, art is also a creative way to connect with our world, connect with our emotion, and help us to understand more about our need. So, you can try something else like this. Right. So, also, just like the butterfly body scan, right? We try to practice deep breathing, because deep breathing will help us to reduce our cortisol levels. This is very important because cortisol is like a stress hormones. It is and very essential hormones that affects almost every organs and tissue in our body. So it is play a very important part, including like regulating our body stress response, suppressing some inflammation, and regulating our blood pressures. So try to practice deep breathing regularly. So it's definitely help you to lower your stress level. And try to eat well, because the guts microbiome may benefit brain health in a numbers of ways. First, some types of bacteria can help us to provide some chemicals in the brain called neurotransmitter, like serotonin is an antidepressant neurotransmitter. It can help us, it is made in the guts. So the guts is physically also, it connects to our brain through millions of nerves. So therefore, if we can have a proper diet, we can eat some healthy food like omega-rich food like salmon, walnuts, oyster, chia seed. Yeah, it's definitely help us to boost our health. And it is also very important that you can take less sugar food. So try to pay attention for what you eat every day. It's definitely help you in long term. Right. So it's a major major part of chronic anxiety is related to relationship. Chronic anxiety has already happened, in the relational context. We always been taught that forgiveness is very important, but we have to remember that healings and recovery actually take times. So don't fix yourself to forgive someone when you are not ready for it. It is not very helpful for you to suppress your emotion and feelings without, properly processing them. So be patient and try to be compassionate with yourself. So it is very important for us to give friends. Gratitude make us feel that life is worth living, and it's already help us to generate a sense of hope, to improve our mental health and strengthening our resilience. So showing the picture, this is a what I call is a gratitude jar. Yeah, so every day, maybe before you go to sleep, you can try to write down some, maybe 3 things that you feel thankful for. For example, like today, I would say I'm very thankful, grateful for still being healthy, under the pandemic. And today is very grateful that we can connect with each other from different parts of the world. So try to practice this exercise, make it a regular basis, because it helps you to change your brain in long term to be more positive and more adaptive. Yeah. So I'm going to put it in the jar. And sometimes when you feel stressful, when you feel distressed, you can open it, read about what you have record. So it's definitely helpful. Yeah, and now we come to age. Age is here and now. Anxiety is very, very future oriented because we already fear that the futures, and sometimes we may also regretting about the past. But when we think too much about the future, which is actually out of our control, we will reinforce, the neural network in our brain that always linked to fear, worries, and some very unpleasant experience. So this can create a mental chaos in our brain and prevent us to focus on something that we can't control, which can work for us. So try to be present and try to experience every here and now moment. Just like now you are in the webinar, and we try to focus on our connection. Yeah, try to play your attention in the process. And it's very important to have imaginations. I think maybe there probably someone in your life telling you to stop daydreaming. Yeah, when you grow up, always ask you to think much more practically, much more realistically. But actually, with a reasonable amount of time, I would say that daydreaming is actually very good for us because it's allowed a free flow of informations to break some of our negative thinking patterns that allow us to develop more alternative and possibility to see the situation we are in. So it's definitely help us, to build up our resilience and see, to find the possible solutions, for our stress, for our anxiety. And, try to judge objectively. Of course, it's really good if we can become non-judgmental to ourselves, to other people. But I understand that it's really difficult to prevent making judgment in our everyday life. But if we really need to have some evaluation, to have some judgment, we have to make sure that it's not only based on our assumption and based on our perception. It is very important, to have facts checking. We need to find out the facts. For example, maybe sometimes we will think that people don't tend to like me because I'm not attractive, I'm uninteresting to others, or maybe you can have some thought. It would be horrible if they think I'm incompetent and weak, and they are not going to include me in their groups. So this kind of social belief is actually very common, especially when you encounter social anxiety, and it will affect the way we interact with people. So like some students that I encountered, they try to avoid people because they try to prevent the embarrassment. But actually, all this negative thought is come from themselves. So it is good for them to try, to connect with people, to talk with people, to interact with people, to tread out for the reality. Okay, I think the time is running out. So yeah, I try to be quick, for the rest. It's very important, to practice kindness, because major part of chronic anxiety is related to relationship. So we always been taught it's already helpful, for us to be empathetic and helpful to others. Because if we are too focused on our own problems, right, our world will become very, very small. But when we try to reach out for people, try to help them, you will gain a lot of experience. It's definitely help you to enhance your perspective, and it's also help you to find the flexibility and the possibility for different solution. Yeah, so try to be helpful for others as well. So when we talk about helping people, it is very important to make connection with our community, to enlarge your social circle, because it is because when you feel something negative, and even something you feel is stupid, embarrassing, try not to keep it yourself. Try to notice it, embrace it, and find someone to talk about it. Because when you talk through, your anxiety, it's actually helping your brain to process it, and it helps you to get through and have a more adaptive versions about yourself and your life. So try to reach out for people, after the pandemic is under control. Try to send them some message and even a phone call, right? Yeah. Sam, do you think that we have time to practice the butterfly hut?
I would say that might be more important, because if you feel comfortable to, we can share your A to Z afterwards. You can
Yeah.
send it to the registrant, but I believe they would like to try another exercise
Mm.
maybe.
Yeah, so if all of you agree, maybe I will just leave the remaining, strategy for you to read about it. Yeah, and also, of course, you can come back to me or connect with me through email if you have any questions. But just like Sam said, I would like to, we try to practice a very, very helpful relaxation technique, the butterfly hut together. Yeah. So, yeah, let us have the music on again. So butterfly huts actually is a very wonderful technique that you can use it in school or at home, or anytime when you feel very anxious, when you feel very stressful. So it's help you to get your stress down a little bit. So now you try to sit with a comfortable position. Try to relax yourself. You can cross your thumbs like this, like a butterfly, and put your hand in front of your chest and tap alternatively. You can try it, or you can try to tap on your shoulder. Or on your arms, and even on your knees. Just try out and to see, wherever you feel more comfortable with the tapping. So you can join me and watch me and close your eye if you feel ready. So when you find a place that you would like to tap on, no matter your chest, your shoulder, your arm, or your knee, you can start a deep breath. Take a deep breath in. When it goes to the top, you can hold it. Hold it for a moment and then try to breathe out slowly. Then you can start tapping slowly. When you're tapping, you can add some positive affirmations to yourself. It may be, I'm wonderful. I'm good enough. I did the best I could. I'm lovable. I can do it. I'm safe. So whatever seems to fit what you need right now, you just add in and just repeat the affirmations to yourself. And remember to keep tapping as long as you feel comfortable and relaxed. Try to notice the rhythm. You can go harder or just keep it gentle. Just try what's fit for you right now. Focus on the process. Continue to take deep breath, breathing in, breathing out. Just tapping and tapping as long as you can. So as you feel a little bit calmer with yourself, much more relaxed, and when you feel it's just good enough for today, then I'm going to pause for a moment. So if you like, you can take one more deep breath and let yourself relax. Okay, so I hope you liked the exercise because it is very helpful. So whenever you feel you're very stressful, like on a Friday, like going before an examination, when you start to feel anxious, so you can start typing. Yeah, try to focus on yourself here and now. So this will help you to lower your stress level and to have a sense of kindness, to regain a sense of kindness, and to lower your pacing. So I hope that you feel this technique is helpful for you. So I'm going to share my PowerPoint with all of you. So maybe you can go through the rest, of the alphabet. I think I found that these are all very effective strategy for you to work on your brain, to work on your anxiety. But at the end, I would like to invite you to design your own mental wellness transformation plan. So you were going through the 26 alphabet, and each of them represent a strategy to manage and relieve your anxiety. So now try to think of a word the word that is sound meaningful to you. So here I pick love, 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 right? So as I mentioned, L is the language with communities. That means maybe for week one, I need to connect more with people. So no matter it's a very small step like sending a message, try to give a call to your friend, or maybe have a video call with a friend, something simple, but try to make a step to connect with people. So O is stand for okay to make mistake. So try to practice, acceptance, as I mentioned. Try to accept yourself. Try not to judge yourself, to focus more on your needs and help yourself to discover your own strength and validating yourself. Like when we're doing the tapping, doing the butterfly heart, we try to say some affirmation statement to ourselves. I'm good enough, I can do it, I can try it, right? Yeah, you can keep up this kind of exercise, and then it will. So after this webinar, I'm going to have a good meal for myself, because today I get so anxious. So actually I didn't have a very good lunch. So I definitely going to eat well. So I am really sincerely invite you to create your own wellness plan. Maybe you can pick a word like faith, maybe even, for example, if you want to watch a Netflix, then you can pick the word Netflix, for every week. So I hope that you can continue to practice this exercise for at least 3 months. Then you will notice there will be a very significant change in your mental condition, and it's definitely help you to lower your anxiety levels. Right. So allow me to have a final message, for parents and for teacher, because I'm very, very thankful, for you to being here. So today we know that anxiety is actually a very normal part of our life. So being a parent and teacher, it is very helpful, to teach your children, teach your student that anxieties will come and go. It is just normal. It doesn't mean that when we have anxiety, we become problematic, or maybe there is something wrong with us. So support is important. Supporting our young people to navigate their identity development in this stage is very important. But try not to be overprotective for them, because if you are too overprotective, actually your children, your student, they can't learn how to prepare for the toughness and the challenge of life. So give them support and resources according to their objective needs, not our subjective anxiety. Because sometimes when we feel anxious, being a parent, a teacher, when we feel anxious, we will project our own needs, onto our children, onto our students. So try to show them how you face, the harder parts of life, how to be resilient, to manage and deal with our own anxiety, be more open, with them, to create a open environment that maybe your student, your children can talk to you without judgment. So when you can calm down your own anxiety, when you can calm down your own anxious mind without focusing too much on your children, on your students, actually they can have more energy to pursue their life goals and to be more open to explore the world, that they can be more, differentiate and emotionally mature, and to develop a more mature and reality-based relationship with you, without being, overly sensitive to your expectation, recognitions, and expectations. So in long term, it's definitely do good to their identity. And if they are going to build up their solar self, it's definitely help them to be more in control of their life, to create more positive image, create more positive thought, make them much more adaptive to the challenge and the changes of our society, right? So I think that's all for today. I'm so sorry for a little bit overwhelmed.
It's absolutely all right. Thank you so much, Dr. Chiu. I enjoyed it very much. I hope the audience also enjoyed it. Even though we are running a bit late, I'm hoping maybe we can answer a few questions, if any. Um, let's see if we have any questions from the audience. I am, to be honest, like this is so, I was so grateful to just share this 1 hour with all of you. We have a steady audience throughout the entire session. So I don't know if you can feel it. You can imagine we have students in Egypt, in Nepal, in Africa, all sharing that. Okay, we are anxious, but hey, let's find a place. Let's find a way to do it, and we can do it. And we actually did that together. So yeah, of course, India as well. We have so many representatives today. I don't see any questions. I only see thank you. So I guess we'll call this the end of the webinar. I will make sure all of you get the PowerPoint. I will send it to all of you who have registered. So thank you again, Dr. Chiu.
Thank